My name is Brad Hart. Today we are here on the Make More Marbles podcast live with Mr. Dan Mangena. Thank you so much, Dan, for having us as a guest and being here. And we're really excited. If you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. We're going to be going into a few really cool topics today, specifically how Dan has built his business, being from the UK, living now in Dubai, traveling the world, as a child, you know, all the things that happen in life that some people say, oh, it's because of that I can't be successful. He's found a lot of success regardless. He's got a really great story, and he's got some interesting takes on meditation and really motivating yourself to do what's best for you and your life. So without any further ado, Dan, welcome to the show. What's up, man?
Hey, B, how you doing, man? Really excited to be here, getting to it and chopping it up, and maybe having people come to my side of thinking with my controversial views, but we'll see.
Yeah, hey, I love a good campfire controversy. I've had a few over the years. I don't seek them out, but it's like, it's always
they find you.
Yeah, it's always that tweet you wrote on the toilet that explodes 8 hours later. And you're like, oh, what is going on with this? So Dan and I know a few people in common. We're both or have been members of the Mavericks community, which is Yannick Silver's mastermind. Shout out to Yannick. And we also have a dear friend in common called Joel Irway, who's the webinar agency, really incredible man. So shout out to him. And let's dive right into it. So Dan, tell us about a little bit of your story, kind of give us the grounding up until now and the high points, and then we'll go from there and talk about some of the bits and pieces and pick them apart.
Sure. So I like to think of my life as a trilogy. And the way that the trilogy works for me, Brad, is I'm in book 3 right now, which started in February 2018. And then there was a section leading up to that started around March 2008. And then everything leading into that. And so the first section, you know, I was able to get successful very young, which unfortunately is a blessing and a curse, because unless you know how to manage success and how to hold it, it's always going to go. And the more young and arrogant you are, the more messy that is going to be. And it was very messy for me. I actually made and lost 2 multi-million-pound fortunes by the age of 23. Now, going into what became book 2, coming off the back of the second loss, I was really hit quite hard, because up until then I had that arrogance of youth, and I didn't actually understand that maybe some of these bumps in the road were caused to stop and check your tires and make sure you got gas and your oils. I didn't do that. I just sort of kept riding the car until it fell apart, and it fell apart in a way that didn't leave me any space to still hold the illusion that I knew everything, which is what it was up until that time. I was reading books like Think and Grow Rich as a 16-year-old, studying psycho-cybernetics in my teens, ordering tape from Nightingale Conant and, you know, on junk mail lists and learning about, you know, marketing and stuff like that, and was able to leverage those. But without having life experience, without having guidance on business and how structures and stuff work, it was always going to be a mess. And for me, it was ended up having a business that didn't have the right licenses. Government shut me down first. I went off and set everything up again. And then people came and stole everything because I tried to be clever and put things in people's names. So it ended up being a thing where I just didn't have any corners. My ego didn't have any corners to hide in and be like, hey, I still know everything and I'm still this genius that's got the reality of the universe worked out.
That wasn't my fault. I don't have to take responsibility for any of that.
And the worst thing was, Brad, is that as an arrogant little twat that I was at the time, I made sure everybody knew that I knew everything about how the universe worked. So when it was evident that I didn't, I was caught in this really dark web where it's like my entire identity had been built on being the guy that knew everything, that now had been shown quite drastically that I didn't know everything. And that left me in a really dark place of suicidal ideation. And it was actually, that became the point of book 2, because book 2 was the whole course of events that led me into accidentally finding my way out of the shadows and darkness of suicidal ideation, and actually working out how to make my life work whilst not trying to make it work. Because I didn't go into that next section like, I'm going to fix my life and I'm going to get back on top and I'm going to be a better person and I'm going to improve. I went into, I need to work out how to be less of a loser so that if I pull off a suicide attempt, I don't fail. Because at the moment I feel like such a loser, I'm going to fail. And that became book 2. And tail spinning out of book 2 into book 3 was sharing that journey and everything that led up to it with others. And that's what I've been doing since 2018.
So give us some years. You're born what year?
83.
Okay, 83. So you're a little bit older than me. So you're about 39 now, I want to say.
Yeah, 39.
So you had a lot of success at a very young age. Due to
Hmm.
licensing and thefts, both empires crumbled very quickly. What niches were you in, just so I'm clear?
So my first business was, we were cross niche. So we were doing import export. We were doing real estate
Got it.
development. I had a training company. In my head, I was like the head of my Dan Electric instead of General Electric. Like I had my little conglomerate with no experience and no
This is
right to
all in
even
the
do
UK
that
at
then.
this point, so you're
Yeah,
subject
yeah,
to UK law. And,
yeah.
it's never the thing that you know that gets you. It's always the thing that you don't know
That's the
that you
thing you
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know
In
that you
my
don't
case,
know it.
or in my case, you're so arrogantly believing that you know everything that you don't even realize that there's something that you can't know, that you don't know. That was even worse. So
Yeah,
that was
and
that
like you
process.
said, there's a container big enough for everybody's ego, and that's
Yeah.
what God, the universe, whatever we occupy is, whatever you want to call this reality. It was so
Hmm.
large that it encompassed all your failures and made you look them straight in the face and be like, "Oh crap,
Yeah.
maybe I am such a loser. I can't even kill myself." Right?
And that's where that's literally what went through my head. It's like, I can't do this and fail. The thought of doing that just didn't really work for me, which I'm so grateful for, because that break of space gave me the chance to make the choice to maybe think about the path I ended up on. And that path actually led me to still being here today.
I love that. And so now at almost 40 years old, what
Yeah.
can you say looking backwards about that journey? What would you say to that young man that might have
Mm-hmm.
put him on a better path before he had to make all these painful mistakes? Or did he have to just learn? Could he not, even if you came back in the future and was like, yo, I'm you at
Mm-hmm.
40, this is what you need to do
Mm-hmm.
differently. Is that a possibility that he would have listened?
This is the thing, Brad. And part and parcel of that turning point that I had on the 13th of February 2018 was actually recognizing that there was an infinite number of ways I could have got to the moment of what I'd experienced in that day. But I can't for certain guarantee that I would be the person that I was on that day to have that experience unless I'd gone through what I went through. And so up until that point, that day, I was grateful for the improvements. I was grateful. I'm a better person now. I'm much more humble. I'm able to channel the things that gave me that aggressively disgusting ego into positive things. Great relations with family, all of the things. But I wasn't really looking at the shadow side of it too. But I've now found the transmutation point of the shadows of it also. And so I wouldn't want to go through it again, certainly. But I do recognize the importance of having gone through it in order to be the person I am today.
Yeah, it's not so much that you're getting better as if
Mm-hmm.
you're more aware of the ways in which you are terminally fucked and honest about
Mm-hmm.
them and willing to get help with
Exactly.
those.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like I'm never going to be X or Y or Z, but I can balance that out with the help of others
Exactly.
if I'm just willing to put
Exactly.
my ego aside and do it. So that's
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, man. So your lifestyle now is interesting. You
Mm-hmm.
have you live in Dubai. You've got a
Mm-hmm.
child. It does
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that you don't see very often only because they're in different places. And tell me kind of about your family life. You work three days a week. Kind of give us a sense of what
Mm-hmm.
life looks like now, and we can connect the dots in between.
Sure. So I've been in Mexico since 2018. I just recently making the transition over to Dubai. Literally was confirmed like 3 days ago. Moving the family here.
Oh,
Um,
congratulations! I'm
my,
glad.
yeah, my son, my ex is moving here now. So we're that's what enabled me to make the firm choice. This is what we're going to be doing. Because I basically have been sort of in limbo because she wasn't sure where she wanted to live for the last 3 or 4 months. So I've kind of been in a holding pattern about what was going on with that. But we've made a decision on that now. So yeah, so I work 3 days a week. I've worked 3 days a week now pretty much for the last 3 or 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. More than the last 3 years of things have really scaled in what we're building. I have most of my time spent on the personal development business. I do have entrepreneurial interests also, but this first half of the year has been really, really weird. We had a lot of challenges in the personal development business, which we had to overcome. Joel has actually been instrumental in supporting us navigating that. So really grateful to him. And also, communities I'm in, like Mavericks, JVM M7, shout out to Dove, Gordon for that one as well. But ordinarily, this one has the most of my time. A lot of other things. Me and my brother are in assisted living in the UK. We've also got construction business, and some other little interests that we've got in. They don't take as much of my time because generally I'm sort of dropping in with a bit of experience or some ideas or resources or whatever, and then sort of stepping back. And so my day-to-day businessing generally is in this business, but it's been more focused on this one solely this year because we've had a lot of things to navigate.
Okay, so what's the picture look like now? So how many companies
Yeah.
are running? How do you manage it? Like, give me a sense because this is the situation I find myself in too. So it's interesting for me
Hmm.
personally. Is like I've got a
Hmm.
lot of little seven-figure things. I want to either build an 8 or 9 figure thing or start to acquire
Hmm.
assets, whatever it's going to be. That's like get me out of
Hmm.
this hamster wheel I found myself in. And it's not a bad
Yeah.
hamster wheel, but I understand it's still a hamster.
Still, it's a hamster wheel. Yeah. So the assisted living business, we've just literally secured a potential investor for $20 million to dump into that. So we're doing the paperwork with them. We're getting the pitch deck and stuff. I've actually got lunch on that on Thursday. So my brother and I really believe that we can get that to 15, 20 million in sales. The EBITDA in that industry in the UK can go up to 9x. Depending on the size of the organization and some other bits and pieces. So that's something that I'm putting energy into because it's something that, next 3 to 5 years, it could do more. I'm a very, very minority stakeholder in a hedge fund, very, very minority stakeholder out of Cayman. And that one doesn't require much of my time and energy. I have to have meetings every now and then and do a couple of trips. But that mainly it's relationships that I bring to the table on that one. So it doesn't really take much of my day to day. The coaching business, based on the direction we're going now, it's really doing things like podcasts, I write for Entrepreneur. I do some other content creation. The day-to-day operations, I have a couple of meetings with a couple of team members that do the operational then rollout to the rest of the team. So that allows me to keep it under the 10 hours. And I think for anyone that's thinking about, well, what do you do with the rest of your time? So for example, Fridays, I dedicate to self-care. I'll make sure I get to the spa most weeks, make sure you shake off the week, keeps burnout at bay, allows you to have the mental and emotional resilience and also the physical space to be able to keep up with a high intensity work rate. Mondays, I tend to do work on my personal development. So if I'm on a course, any of the coaches I'm working with, I'll be working with on a Monday. I'm developing my chess game at the moment, for example. So I work with my chess coach on a Monday as well. And then I can go balls to the wall Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and know that I've got the space to do that. Now, when I'm in Mexico, weekends are dedicated purely to family time. Now that the family's moving here, that's going to be family time again, family and friends. And I generally tend as well to make sure that I have, when we're in the same time zone, the same place, quality time with my son every single day, regardless, specifically that hour before he goes to bed. So that's kind of what life looks like and how I run it. Creating the extra space by the way that I manage my time and outsource more and focus in my zone of genius gives me more space to do what I enjoy and to pour more into that and also leverage the points that are actually giving us more ROI.
So a couple clarifying questions here. For the assisted living, are you assuming up assets, building them into a larger portfolio so you could flip them on a different market?
That's what we'll do. Yeah, that's what we want to
Cool.
do.
So
Yeah.
you definitely want to talk to Nick Bradley. I'll make that connection. He does that all the time.
Amazing.
He's awesome. He's also moving to Dubai. If you guys haven't connected, he's done 5 and change billion in those types of things. Like he's definitely
amazing.
Yeah. So that's
you.
Nick.
I appreciate that.
I've got other folks like that, but he's the first and perfect fit, I think, at least
awesome.
on the face of it. So that would be good. And then additionally, I'm curious as far as your coaching business, how you're managing that. So is that one-on-one? Is that a group? Do you have courses, books, et cetera? Like how big is this value ladder? How much is built out? And what are you still looking to do with that?
So what we've actually done is we've stripped it down to one core offer that we're working with that's got 2 price points. We've got a higher price point and then a lower price point. And then what I've actually done since the beginning of this year, we've been rolling that out. It's all of my other smaller offers, even up to like a 3K program we had. We've wrapped into a membership, and then we're going to let that tick away organically through the podcast and through the email list. So we're not going to be aggressively marketing that. We focus our attention on the higher ticket item that pumps change through. And then that allows me to fund the stuff that I want to do, like creating content and having a team that's churning out content every day to help people. And then if people want to step up and maybe have a bit more engagement with us, then they can have full belly value from the membership program, which is like $97 a month. Because for me, I didn't come into the personal development side to make money. It just happened that I was able to build it into multi-7-figure business. I really did come into it to help people. I walked away from the other business that I had to come and help people, but it happened to grow. But the thing that I believe has been really supportive for me in order to make that delineation between the business and the serving is keeping an eye on the fact that the more that a business makes, the more people it can help. So I can have a bigger team. I can put out more content. I can touch more lives. But I'm finding that tightening that down to the higher ticket offer, which I'm doing some of the delivery at the moment because we're training out a team specifically to do the delivery. Within 6 months, I want them doing all of the delivery on it. And then the lower one doesn't have any coaching. It's all content with a blueprint that they can follow.
Okay, got it. So yeah, you thought this out pretty well. I mean, our niche,
and we've worked with Joel on that.
Yeah. Our niche is really masterminds. That's what we do the best. And I found for your dollars, like I've done everything from books to courses to low ticket to high ticket to masterminds to everything you can think of, affiliate. I've been all over this internet marketing world and back, and won awards, all kinds of cool shit. Worked with all my heroes. Like time and time again, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, masterminds are the best model, in my opinion.
Wow.
So that's definitely something that I think, if you get stuck on any of this and you're like, hey, how do I go from A to B? Like, I'd be happy to support. And that's really what it's all about, gang. Like what we're doing in real time here is just a recorded conversation of what I always do with everybody. It's like, all right, what are you trying to get to? Where are you now? What's standing in your way? What gaps do you have? And then based on my expertise, or the expertise that I know that my trusted circle has, how can we get you connected to the right person to accelerate your progress and get where you want to go next? And none of it matters as far as like the who is so much easier than the how, right? I can find you the right who knows the how. It's all about the mindset of like, will I take that opportunity? Will I invest time, money, whatever it is to make it happen? And am I going to be my own worst enemy? So luckily, Dan and some other folks like myself, we've been beaten down enough with our ego to know like, it's not about us. Like if we focus on our petty bullshit, we don't expand, we don't grow, we don't become the person that we want to become. And this is like Tony Robbins 101. He talks about the 6 human needs, right? It's certainty, variety, love and connection, and significance.
Contribution.
So the personality ones, right? But then the other two are like, contribution and growth. And I'm just going to break this down for people because I think it's so important. It's like, if you're focused on certainty, you won't get enough variety. If you're focused on variety, you won't get enough certainty. It's a paradox. Same thing with love and connection versus significance. You focus too much on, look how important I am, you'll feel less connected and loved by others, and vice versa. If you're too lovey-dovey, you won't feel significant, right? People will take advantage. People will step all over you. People will steal from you, etc. So you have to have that balance. The only way to break this dichotomy, these back and forth, is to focus on growth and connection. Because if you just growth without a purpose is cancer. Literally, that's the motto of cancer. And if you just contribute, you very quickly become a martyr who has nothing. Right? So you can't have one or the other. But if you focus on both, if you're always somebody's growing and always somebody's contributing, what's going to happen? Well, are you going to feel certain that you can make anything happen? Absolutely. You're going to feel like you have variety in your life? Boy, howdy, will you feel like you have some fucking variety. Will you feel significant? Absolutely. Will you feel loved and connected to others? Absolutely. So by focusing on those two needs in tandem, you can shortcut this entire process, right? And that was the biggest distinction. It took me 15 events to get that, but I repeat it as often as possible now because it's like I felt like I found for life, or like
repetition.
Tony spent 40 plus years figuring out those pieces just so I could have that one distinction. And I'm so grateful for that, man, for doing that and other reasons as well. But that specific thing has changed my life. So again, that was a long roundabout to get to my next question, which is, how do you feel about meditation? Why do you feel like it doesn't work? And what do you do instead that gets you better results?
I do feel it does work. And this is one of the reasons why I worded my thoughts on that in the way that I did, because it creates such controversy that people actually enter the conversation with me and give me the opportunity to say what I want to say, which is I don't say don't meditate and I don't say never to meditate. I say stop meditating. And I'll tell you a quick story. I wrote an article for Entrepreneur that spoke to this. And Entrepreneur, they're very gracious. They always tweet me.
And just a clarifying question there: are you part of the leadership program? Do you have your own article? How does that work? Because I've done the leadership.
No, I write as a contributor.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
right. I was just curious.
Yeah. So and people were in uproar. And I said, did you actually read the article? Because I went in the DM on the tweet.
The answer is no, by the way.
No, they didn't.
Never had an article.
I would never read.
They read the first paragraph if you're lucky. They never read
it. I never. And so I was just like, well, if you read it, you'd probably get it, because it doesn't say, I don't say don't. And for something to stop, it has to have been in motion. And my whole thing is that meditation or yoga or going to your temple, your mosque, your synagogue, or your whatever, your sacred place in the woods, without following through with taking care of your mindset, without following through on that and taking action, is going nowhere. And far too many people spend all of their time designing their life, but not doing anything about fixing their mindset so they can actually go out and achieve it, and then taking some action to actually achieve it. They spend all their time building their vision board, but not actually executing on developing a mindset that can actually execute, and then taking the action to execute. And so my Paul, my war cry is stop just meditating, which is I could have done, would have been less controversial, right?
Yeah.
And start taking care of your mindset, start taking some action. Meditation, I do at least twice a day, right? Yoga, I do the thing, right? I've got my mind move, which is a moving vision board. I do spiritual practices. I've got Palo Santo upstairs. I've got all of the things, but guess what? I spend several $100,000s a year on my personal development. I've always got a coach. I'm always spending my time with smarter, richer, more experienced, more developed people than me. And I take action every single day towards my goals. So it's actually doing something versus me sitting around doing a vision board of me having a successful business, not actually making a single sale and wondering why I'm still broke, or visualizing the perfect partner, but spending all of my time in front of the TV eating Cheetos and wondering why I'm still alone. And that's what that's all about.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's such an important distinction, is like everything that I've ever gone viral with was usually either misspelled or miscommunicated, or not what I actually meant. And it became controversial because I made a mistake, but it ended up being that mistake that was like, is divine intervention, in my opinion. Like I needed to have that conversation reach a larger audience, not for my benefit. I don't necessarily need or want anything out of it, but it becomes the benefit of all those people that are now thinking about this in a new way. And for the ones that are thoughtful and do read between the lines and do form a new opinion, it could change their life. I mean, you never know who's listening to this conversation right now, hearing us speak, watching us, whatever it is, where they're like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way. They make that shift and now they're off on a new trajectory. And it's not like their life is changing tomorrow. They're getting $1 million check in the mail. No, but they're on a different path that in this multiverse of possibilities is potentially more in line with where they want to end up. Right. And that's really it. It's like, I'm not here to judge, and I'm sure you're not here to judge anybody's ultimate destination. We just want them to have one. Like that's 95%. If you just have one, like so many people I talk to that are not experiencing success, I'm just like, what do you want? And they're not clear. And that's like the first step. If you're not clear on what the hell you want, it's right now. It doesn't have to be forever.
You're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere, right?
At least the next steps you're going to take towards somewhere. At least I'm going to a country. I'm going to be getting a plane. At least make your way to the airport before and then you could pick up a destination. But sitting at home complaining is nonsensical. And
then it's like, I've actually built a network, and you've built a network, I'm sure, that of people we know together and many others that like, we got the who for anyhow. So if you're like, hey, I want to get from A to B, I can introduce you to the person who can make that happen if you're willing to invest time, energy, money, whatever, to build that relationship. And that's another place you get stuck. It's like, well, why should I pay, or why should I do this? I'm like, because they're going to give you the blueprint of what's already worked for them to get the results they've already gotten. And they're going to be there to answer questions. Like that's the biggest hack I've ever thought about. People spend $100,000 on a degree that has no mentorship, no guidance. Nobody who's teaching them has actually done the thing, but they'll balk at spending $5 or $10,000 with somebody who's actually done the thing, who will be on call, and their reputation's on the line, and make sure you get results.
Exactly.
And all you got to do is show up and do what they say. And it's like, it's such a disconnect in this entitlement fueled landscape we live in, where it's like, yo, I just gave you the fucking cheat codes to whatever you want. All you got to do is decide what it is and who's the right person to work with to get it. That's it. Simple. And I feel like we need to start breaking down that where however people got there to where they're doing that action. I don't know what the belief structure is or have all the bits and pieces, but whatever led to that happening needs to be undone. Right. Because that's just what's holding everybody back from getting better. Because when you get better, when I get better, when we all get more successful, we can help more people and the world gets better. The ultimate pie gets larger. So
exactly.
That's the whole make more marbles.
The rising tide lifts all boats. Is that the way that the saying goes? Yeah.
That's it. And so, so let's break down a few more of these pieces. I'm really liking this conversation. So
me too.
Thank you. Tell me what your personal philosophy is on coaching or teaching or mentorship, or however you define yourself as that role, and what might be different from the norm and what might be more effective or less effective. What have you found that works really well for you, that hasn't worked, that you've tried, and how does that ultimately lead to a better experience for your people in your program?
Yeah, I think for me, I am more effective in the teaching role. Although I the results I've gotten with people, I think, do say that when I'm doing impactful coaching, so I tend to do the VIP days, VIP weekends, or taking people through a short program, I'm very effective at that. But I don't really have space for complaining and bitching and crying. I'm not the best. I'm not the mollycoddler. I can whip you into shape. I can give you the blueprint, but I'm not really the mollycoddler. But the great thing is that knowing that people do sometimes need that mix, I've got an amazing team of coaches who can actually carry over the longer term. So we've got that mix worked out, I believe, as an organization. But I would say that one of the things with me is I don't believe that we're ever going to get it all worked out. I'm not trying to get anybody to a point of perfection. I think my journey going from thinking that I was perfect and quite painfully being smashed into the ground to see that I'm not really, I think has supported me in being able to really humbly step forward and say, look, guys, nobody's got it worked out at all. None of your favorite gurus have got a perfect life. None of them. They've all got
and
some
even
kind
if they
of
do, they won't in like 3 years, the way things are moving. So,
well, yeah, right. So like everybody's fighting their own battle. And I think the more that we give ourselves permission, and, you know, step 4 of my Beyond Intention paradigm, which is one of the core frameworks behind what I teach, is the listening is about that, acknowledging you're not going to be switched on every day. You're not going to be happy every day. You're not going to want to do the work every day. You're not going to be aligned every day, but give yourself space and grace to be able to navigate those times when you're not. And you'll actually find that you're on the ball much more of the time, or at least the downtrend is going to last a lot less time. You know, it's going to be a quick dip. So I think that's the thing. And also just my perspective on the fact that everything has the potential to be energy to be transmuted into channeling into what you want to create. And again, that's from my journey of seeing that the shadows are what made me the person that I could be in order to be the person I am today, right? Had everything worked out for me and gone hunky-dory, yeah, maybe I would have got to, you know, a centimillionaire in my 20s, but I would have been an absolute twat and I had no friends, and I really would not have been a nice person. It was required. And the energy that's flown through those experiences, I'm now able to share with others and support them on going on their journey too. So I say those are the key thing. I know that I'm greatly impactful, coming in, you know, effing shit up, and then having a team that supports in the ongoing bit after that, me coming in and just giving you a quick nudge to make sure you're still on target. I think that model has been really powerful for us.
Yeah, I love that for a couple of reasons. So one thing I'm picking up on here is like the difference between UK culture and the US culture, right? The US culture is like maximize every possible minute to get the most out of yourself and just die at 50 or whatever, right? It's like it's crazy model where it's like nuts. But then you talk to people in the UK and they go on things called holidays and they travel and they fuck off for months at a time. Same thing with Australia. There's other parts of the world where somehow they don't completely fall out of relevance. You know, it depends who you ask, I guess. But, you know, they had a fucking empire that spanned the entire world at one point. And they made it work, right? And they still take holidays. They still have a good time. And how has that shaped you? And what's been your change when you moved to Mexico City, when you moved to Dubai? Like, how have different cultures shaped your perspective on this and this idea of flexing and flowing? Because it seems like you have a good balance, which is admirable.
Yeah. Also, I was raised by immigrants. My mum and dad emigrated from Zimbabwe to the UK in the 70s. They were education migrants. And so, you know, they weren't economic. It was education. My dad got as high as he could in Zim. I think he wanted to do his master's at a British university. And then he's now got 2 masters, a PhD, and he got bored in his 40s and went and did a law degree or some shit. And he's sort of retired now. He's 79, but he hasn't kind of retired. He bought land and now he's a goat farmer because he wanted something to do. But
as you do, right?
Anyway, as you do. So I actually came up in a very much sort of conservative Christian household, hard work, sort of bit more Puritan. Education is the way. And I rebelled against it a little bit because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Richard Branson's one of my heroes. Richard Branson is one of my heroes. That's why I'm so grateful for Yannick. You know, through him, I've gotten the opportunity to spend a lot of time with Richard and so on and get to see. But I really I wanted to create value and do interesting things. I was just a bit of an asshole when I was younger. And now the life experiences, I think it's life experience really supported in finding the balance between the hard work, yes, education, yes, but for the right things. Not go and get another degree, but go and sit. You know, go and spend 100 grand to be in that mastermind. Go spend 50 grand to get coached by that person. Go spend 30 grand to be in that room. Do that for the education piece. Bring the hard work to it, but also understand that work for the sake of work is nothing. Life is here to be lived. And so the things I do work hard at, I actually enjoy. So it's still fulfilling. I still get to... I've lived for many years now in places that are holiday locations, essentially. And so life is a bit of a holiday. And so I've got an environment that supports me having a flexible way of living. I channel that education and that hard work into productive things that are actually going to move the needle. And on top of all that, the life experience that I've had, which is one of the benefits of me. When I spend money with someone, I'm getting the benefit of their life experience. Just like when people spend money with me, they get the experience of mine without the pain. right? And so I think that's definitely the formula that I followed.
No, I love that. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So how do people learn more about what you're up to? How do people get
Mm-hmm.
into your educational world? How do people
Mm-hmm.
follow you? Where do they go?
Best thing to head to dreamwithdan.com. You will find that there's a couple of pop-ups that will give you some introductory items that will really support you no matter where you are in your journey. We've got a really cool quiz that in 10 questions will help identify your abundance block, and then gives you some completely free resources to work through that. It's a really, really powerful way for me to be able to serve people that are ready to be served. If you want to step into more, there's opportunities to do that. But dreamwithdan.com, you'll find my socials, links to my blog. I've got 2 podcasts out there as well. You can search for me on Entrepreneur Magazine as well. I've got quite a comprehensive list of articles. But dreamwithdan.com, very easy place to find all of the resources that you'd be looking for.
Wonderful, Dan. Any parting words for the Make More Marvels community?
Yeah, just don't take this all so seriously, guys. None of us are getting out of it alive. So make use of the time that you've got, because you don't know how much you've got of it. So,
well put, Dan. And thank you so much for being on the show. And
thanks, man.
For everybody at home, again, hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. It was great to have you on the live. If you're on the live, hashtag live. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.